Well, last season was a really progressive campaign, wasn't it, for Millwall? Not only did they manage a top half finish, they only missed out on the Championship playoffs on the final day, making some real progress in the second half of the campaign under Alex Neil. And I think what really stands out for me about the Lions at the moment is I think they were at a bit of a crossroads about a year ago, where the approach that the club has had for going back many years, certainly in my time covering the Football League, it has been very much about playing, really leaning into that siege mentality that Millwall can create at the Den, and being an aggressive side that bombards penalty areas and flies into challenges and is an absolute nightmare for opposing teams to come to the Den. And I think Neil Harris represented that ideology, if you like, if that's not too grandiose a word, as well as anyone. But I think that as much as that could make Millwall a real fortress and a real force at times in the Championship, well above their sort of budgetary rank, I think there was also a limitation, a ceiling to what that could achieve, because the style didn't really develop players, and I think it would have been difficult for Millwall to sell players on and certainly develop some younger players. But I think what we're seeing under James Berylson's ownership, with Steve Gallen as director of football and as with Neil Harris as head coach, is that they are recruiting young players. They're investing in players that have that potential to grow with the club, and they've also got a manager who hits the sweet spot on the nose, because whereas they'd hoped to go for a more progressive approach with Joe Edwards last in the 23-24 campaign, that didn't work out because he didn't fit the ethos of the club, Alex Neil can do a bit of both. He can develop players, which he's done at Preston North End and Hamilton Academicals in particular, but he also knows how to build an efficient team that's really tenacious and front-footed as well. And so I think there's a real balance there in that sort of caters to the more developmental needs of Millwall as a club that doesn't have a huge amount of external investment, but that's also going to be playing a style of football that fans are happy with. So have Millwall found that middle ground, and what's possible for them in the Championship in 25-26 and beyond? That's what we're here to discuss on this Summer Deep Dive. Yes, welcome along to EFL Debate. I'm speaking to a fan of each of the 72 clubs across the EFL between mid-June and mid-July. So if you want more of this content, you can do us a massive favour by subscribing to us on YouTube and on Spotify. Delighted to be joined this morning by Nick Hart from the excellent Achtung Millwall Podcast.
Well pronounced, Mel.
Thank you. I'm getting there, aren't I? You must be really happy, Nick, with the form that Millwall produced in the second half of last season.
Yeah, I mean, I was just listening to your intro there, Gabe. I mean, I think I've got to start off with a tribute to Neil Harris and what he did for our club. Said it many times on different platforms. He saved us from relegation the season before last at the end. I mean, it was a miraculous survival. But I think the truth is, I mean, you touched on it, that Harris's style of old school, traditional blood and thunder, Millwall for blood and thunder particularly, was great, but it has its limits, and the limits are found in the Championship, the modern Championship. And it was a escape from a bullet, if you like, at the end of the 23-24 season, I think it was. But you can't carry on like that, and I think unfortunately the club's desire to evolve into something perhaps a little bit more modern in style created a clash that led to him departing. But I've been really impressed with what Alex Neil has done. I will be honest, when he first arrived, I wasn't overly excited by the appointment, but I've had to eat my words. He's produced some really good football, with an injury crisis as long as your arm last season, and he got us close. To take us close to the top six with the the kind of restrictions and the injury crisis rather that we were carrying was an immense achievement. And the football was good, playing almost the 4-4-2, Gab, and you can't imagine how glad that makes my old Millwall heart to see two strikers up front. Some of the old lags like me were talking about Teddy and Cass coming back in modern form. Yeah. Impressive. And I think the way he's spoken, conducted himself as manager, it's spot on for a Millwall manager. It's a particular role. You've got to produce a certain type of football. but it's not just. It's you know, for an outsider looking in, I think there's a certain image of the club that isn't always fair. You know, intelligent football combined with blood and thunder is the key. If you can get that, yeah, you're on to a winner. And I think he's getting there. I've been really impressed with him.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking at the top of the club, it's been in many ways a difficult couple of years for James Berylson, as obviously for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
I suppose he's kind of in his new role as chairman of the football club. He's kind of put his own spin on things, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean the club has worked towards this what should we call it? Should we call it the Brentford model or the Brighton model or the Bournemouth? I don't know. That idea of a small club that is able to find and nurture and polish talent and then sell it to to keep the cycle going, and that's what we're seeing. And it requires some investment to start. You can't just do that on a scratch budget. So I think the first thing to say with James Berylson, and take my hat off to, is that the Berylson family have been some of the best owners I think in football. I can't think of many others that have been better, and certainly from Millwall's perspective, his dad John was a saviour, and James has continued that with a purpose that maybe wasn't so much there previously, and that purpose I think is to drive us towards the Premier League, given that the resources will never match some of the larger outfits, particularly with parachute payments that come down from the top flight, but somehow we've got to punch above our weight, and I've been impressed with it. I mean, when it first began, this model, it's hard. You have to sell your darlings. We have to sold Zian Fleming. That's capturing that and absorbing that is a hard thing for a football fan, to sell your talent. But we've seen it develop. Now, obviously, we've got Mihailo Ivanovic up front, who is apparently sought after. The European clubs are talking about him now. Well, maybe we'll come back to Mihailo later. But the idea of finding and developing and then selling isn't an easy thing for a football fan, because you all want to see glory in your own colours, don't you? But yeah, I mean, the direction of the club, there's been a lot of investment at the training grounds, investment at the Den. I understand, I haven't seen that yet, obviously. But so, these are optimistic times. The way we finished last season left me feeling very positive, and looking forward to the new season. So yeah, I can't wait for it to start. Until 5 o'clock on Saturday afternoon, August the 9th, then we'll see. Maybe we'll do another follow-up call then, Gabe, and you see how much optimism remains at that point.
Yeah, it's always you're always optimistic before the football starts.
Absolutely, yeah.
What was I going to say? I wanted to ask you about Steve Gallen. Is some credit being sent his way, given that the club has invested in some young players and got some of your top young talents like Lee Spangura Williams tied down to a 5-year contract? That shows some pretty good planning, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, some of the signings we've only seen some of them very briefly last season. I'm thinking of Camille Negley, who was I think a £4 million striker that we've signed from one of the Dutch clubs, and I can't think of the name of the side now. But we've only seen him briefly. He struggled with injury when he came to us, but when he did come in, there was a cameo performance where he came in and looked really dangerous and scored a crucial goal. I think it was Swansea, but I'd stand to be corrected, last season, and then got injured again, so he's gone off. But the glimpses we've had of some of the talent that we've seen, and Ivanovic would be probably the prime example of that. But some of the other players that you've mentioned, we've yet to probably see the full flowering. Some of the signings we made in January, we've signed Zach Lovelace back, who was here as a youth, and Bobby Benicio Baker, we haven't seen really a thing of as yet. Dan Kelly, who came to us, under Gallen's overview, so to speak. We haven't really seen much of him, but each of them came highly rated. I'm going to guess and hope that we see something of it in the pre-season games, and then it's going to be an interesting first 11 that we see at Carrow Road on August the 9th. What kind of pattern and what kind of shape are we going to take? What players are going to be out there? We've seen a lot of our older guards, some of the players that were part and parcel of the style that you opened up with. George Saville particularly, also George Honeyman to some level, and older players like Murray Wallace and Sean Hutchinson move along. And we're really investing in youth. So this is very much as the start of a new era, new direction for the club. So it's going to be really interesting to see what that opening day 11 looks like. Don't know at the moment. It's hard to give you a starting 11. We've obviously also got goalkeeping problems. We've signed Max Crocombe, and I have to try and avoid saying Mrs. Slocum. It's Max Crocombe. This is one for the older listeners or viewers.
Right over.
Yeah, well, don't worry about it. I wouldn't dwell on it. So there's coverage for Lucas Jensen, who really came along last season in goal. Obviously, another player that came to us in the wake of tragedy, and we've touched on James Barrelson and the loss of John Barrelson, but also Martia Sarkic we lost as well. So it's been a difficult couple of years, and players have had to grow into big roles quite quickly in front of a fairly demanding crowd at the Den. You can't hide at that stadium. There's no place to shirk. And it's been interesting to watch some of these players come along, particularly Lucas in goal. He's injured at the moment, but so it's going to be a opening day. Going back to that, no, I'm going to be interested to see what the starting 11 looks like that day.
Yeah, funny enough with Max Crocombe, he did play at Oxford United when they did have another goalkeeper called Sam Slocum, so it was very confusing.
I like that. That's great.
I know. I wanted to. We did touch on Alex Neil there, and you mentioned that you had been really impressed by him. One thing that has always stood out to me about Alex Neil, and I don't know if it's come across to the fan base as well, is that he's very honest and very direct, and you always know that you're going to get a straight answer from him.
Yeah, no, that goes a long way at the Den. I think where he's made mistakes and errors, he's said in his post-match, it's a rare thing to hear that, isn't it? Normally it's the world's fault and not yours. But he's been very straight down the line. He spoke well. I went to the end of season dinner, the club dinner, and he spoke very well at the end of that, and he did a little piece on stage with interviewer, and he said it. Being at the Den, which has a certain image, we all know that as an outsider. He reminded him of his home origins. He comes from the west coast of Scotland, small town Scottish, Glaswegian hinterland type places, and it reminded him of home in the sense of it being a very familial but intense, inward-looking club. And he spoke well of it. So no, he's really come across well, Gabe. I've been really impressed with him. What's really impressed me is the football. I mean, we've struggled to score goals last season, but I can't say the football's been bad. So that's something that hopefully that we can address this season, because we do need to score more goals. That's a starting point for the season, whatever else we do.
Sure. Also need to keep out the goals. In terms of the goalkeeping unit, you've got Jensen, you've got George Evans and Max Crocombe, who you've mentioned, but you sort of earmarked it as an area to look at this summer. Could you just sort of expand on that for me?
Yeah, we injuries last season. We had the whole controversy over Liam Roberts, which I won't go into here, but that meant that we lost our reserve goalkeeper when Lucas Jensen became injured. So we had to fall back on a youngster, George Evans, who apparently is very highly thought of. I mean, I thought he did really well, given we had one bad game, but it was a team collective bad result at Blackburn. We got beat 4-1 there. But otherwise, in goal, I thought he did really well for a youngster. And the club clearly rates him because they've given him a long-term contract, which is interesting because, the classic stance that people take is you need experience in a league like the Championship because there's no place for kids. The old cliche, you won't get anywhere with kids. But clearly the club are backing him. From the few performances, the very end of the season performances, where we were still in with a shout of the playoffs until I think last day. I think then we were edged out. He did very well. Made some really good saves. Stood up in big situations with experienced defenders in Jaffet Senganga and Jake Cooper in front of him. These are big personalities. So as a goalkeeper, you've got to impose your commands on your back line and tell them, dig them out when they need to be dug out. So he did well. He stood up, and I like the look of the boy. So no, that's an interesting signing, rewarded with a 5-year contract, and we're obviously all awaiting the return of Lucas Jensen, who I've mentioned already. But I think we're going to start with take your pick from Crocombe or Crocombe or George Evans in goal at the start of the season. But it's going to be an interesting whether we'll go for another. I think one more goalkeeper feels a bit like a lot. I don't know, but we'll see.
Yeah. I wonder if. Do you know when Lucas Jensen's meant to be back? Is it short term or?
No, I think it's going to be a few months in at the earliest. I mean, whether it's this side of Christmas, it will be the hope. But you're going to probably be going into the league by at least 10 games, I would have thought, before he's really going to be match ready. But he was a goalkeeper that really developed well last season and had a wobbly start because he was coming into some big shoes. Highly emotional situation to come in and take the place of the much beloved goalkeeper that was lost. But he developed well, and he made some good crucial saves until he was injured. So that's probably a question mark area, goalkeeping. Whether we will go with Crocombe or Evans, they're certainly they're the two at the moment. Whether there's going to be any additional loan signings or not, I don't know.
Yeah, I wonder if there's a possibility where George Evans might get an opportunity in the first half of the season, but then when Jensen comes back, there's also the possibility that Crocombe's come in to be a sort of a backup goalkeeper that might allow Evans to go on loan if
maybe. So that will be a route that you might think of. Yeah, but it's going to be an interesting start to the season, that's for sure.
Absolutely. So in terms of the right back position, Ryan Leonard's kind of made himself a home as a midfielder, as a right back, because he came through as a midfielder at Southend United, and that was the position that he was registered as for quite a while. But more recently, you would think of Ryan Leonard as a right back rather than a midfielder.
Yeah, I mean, he's Mr. Utility, Ryan Leonard. I love him. He really is he's carved out a role as the right back. Has been in midfield. I mean, I think he can play pretty much anywhere across the defence. If you ask him to go and do it, he'll go and do it. Must be a wonderful player to have in the squad, mustn't he? And he's good. He's certainly made right back his own position, mostly because of the injury to Danny McNamara. He probably would have been the more obvious choice. But where do you play Ryan Leonard then, if not in right back position? Because you would want him in your side. He represents experience and a certain amount of leadership as well now, because that's with the departure of some of the names I've mentioned. That's going to be another question mark, is on-field leadership. We've lost a big voice in George Saville, so you're probably going to be looking for the likes of Leonard and others of his stature to step up. It's going to be a battle between him and Danny Mack. I mean, Danny Mack, I saw, was another contract renewal over the summertime, which is good. I like Danny Mack. He's a great defensive right back. Whether he quite gets forward with the right kind of quality is a question mark. That would be an area that I think he would look to develop under Alex Neil. As you said, Neil has a strong reputation with his team of developing players. And I think Danny would probably say that's an area that he's got to develop. So that right back position is almost certainly between Ryan Leonard and Danny Mack, if he's fit to start the season anyway. Take your pick from the two. Probably I'll go with Ryan Leonard at the moment, but just for sheer experience and the depth and the quality he brings to the role.
Yeah, you always want that bit of balance, don't you?
Yeah.
Talk to me about that centre half pairing then, Nick, of Japhet Tanganga and Jake Cooper, and do you think you'll keep the former this summer?
Well, I wish I had an insight on that one. I mean, we've also, just to go back to the right back position, we saw Tristan Kramer playing there as a signing that stepped into the right back role as a central defender. One would think he's probably the more obvious replacement should Japhet move along. I've seen Bundesliga sides being named, and he's got a release clause should a Premier League club come calling. But I don't know. I mean, that's that. I don't. If anyone's got any insight watching this, then do let me know, because I'd love to hear from you. Japhet, maybe you can let us know. Yeah, I mean, the obvious. I mean, it's been a great player of the season last season. Japhet Tanganga, rightly so, real quality. Signed to us from Spurs. He would be competing if the right back position is filled, as you would think it would be between Danny Mack and Ryan Lander, he's competing with Tristan Kramer and Jake Cooper. Kramer has been a revelation for us. He looks a really, really classy player, Gabe. And, I mean, were Jaffet to move on once upon a time, that would have been a heartbreaker, especially if he goes cheaply to a Premier League side. But with Tristan Kramer to step into the shoes, then it might, you might get over that heartbreak quite quickly. So the other, obviously, central defender is Jake Cooper, who's been around since it seems like the dawn of time at the Den. He's become a real fixture. I can't remember how many appearances he's made. I think over 400. I think I read somewhere. Was he close to 400? I don't know, but he's en route to becoming one of the great Millwall players with a very, very high appearance level. And Jake is Jake. He's a big bloke. If you ever stand next to him, he seems like a giant, and he's a lovely bloke as well. But very much a Millwall player. He's one of these. Some players just find their home at the Den, and some players move through. Some people have a brief moment of glory there and move along. Zian is a good example. Jake is a Millwall man through and through, and I wish him well. Again, there's probably going to be 2 central defensive roles, I'm going to guess, with 3 good players to compete for them. So that's probably the ideal position for Alex Neil to be in. But I wouldn't want to make the choices there, to be honest.
No, I think with Jake Cooper, fantastic defender, been so consistent over the years in the Championship. I suppose there's a feeling that he used to have. There was a time where he used to score a lot of headed goals or be a real nuisance in the opposition box. And I don't know, from the outside, it feels like he's maybe not been as much of a threat in the opposition box as he used to be. I don't know whether you'd say that as a season ticket holder, but that's my perception from afar.
I would say that Jake Cooper, because he's 6'5", maybe even 6'6", he's tall, very big. If you're a big bloke, I think referees think that any physical contact between you and an opponent is your fault. You're not going to get any decision. He's physically manhandled to a level. It takes my breath away what players will get away with inside the penalty area when he's on the attack. If it was rugby league, you might say that's a bit of a strong tackle sometimes. They're almost hanging on to him around the waist. I think teams have identified that referees will allow a level of physical balking on Jake Cooper, particularly because he is a threat. Put the ball into the area, and there he is. He's he's a big defender, and if he gets on the end of it well, then it's probably goalward bound. But referees will tolerate a level of physical manhandling on him that has probably meant he's not had the chances or the opportunities. He's got to find a way around that, I guess. It hopefully creates chances for other players because they're going to need to have a man literally clinging onto him. I've seen it. So they're only 1 or 2 players short of hanging onto each of his legs as he tries to run with 1 man around his middle and 2 on each leg.
2 on his arms and 2 on his legs.
You think I'm joking, Gabriel Sutton? I've seen it, mate. I've seen it. No, it's an interesting aspect of the modern game. What is tolerated? I mean, there are rules against it, but referees don't apply them. It's almost seen as one of these. Everyone does it, so there it is. I'm sure Jake does it in return, but whether that's the rules of football or not, I don't know. I think that's not helped his goal scoring record. That's for sure.
Sure. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And by the way, talking of tall defenders, you've got a lad called Kamal Grant, who I don't imagine you've seen an awful lot of.
Bromley, been on loan at Bromley. Yeah, I haven't seen much of him, but he's well rated. I understand. Yeah. He's come back to us now.
Yeah, very talented defender. So I think he could be one to watch out for as well. Maybe as the I think he could be to Cooper what you've mentioned Kramer is to Tanganga. So one to look out for, hopefully. Left back Joe Bryan. I think left back is possibly the weakest area of Millwall squad right now. I'm not sure I trust Joe Bryan defensively. I think that's an area to strengthen.
I'm glad you said that, Gabe. In fairness, Joe Bryan has improved, particularly in his forward, forays. And defensively, in fairness to him, but I would say that you're correct. Defending is not his strongest suit, but he's a great player going forwards. Modern football asks out of fullbacks. But he's really improved. His form really came on. A couple of times, I think I made him man of the match last season under Alex Neil's management. So whether Alex Neil was reaching into the Joe Bryan psyche and finding motivational ways to get him improve, I don't know. One thing I did see, though, I don't think it's official yet, but I think the deal for Zach Sturge is looking like it's a go. I know he will be a big asset, because I was really impressed with Zach Sturge last season coming in from Chelsea. I don't think that's official yet, so you might I might have to caveat that might not yet have happened, but it'd be a big asset if we can get Zach over the line, because he brought defensive nous but also pace going forwards. I think Sturge and Joe Bryan as options in that left back role is a great choice to have, but Joe Bryan, being fair to him, no, I thought we improved a lot last season, but I will take the point about his defensive qualities at times. Good going forwards though.
Yeah. Do you know if Sturge is going to be another loan, or do you think you might get him permanently?
Don't know. I think it was a permanent deal. I won't look now, but I'm sure I saw this morning the deal is close to be done.
That would be great if you can get someone like that, because then again, you think of the player trading model. You can get talented players in. And
really impressive player last season, and I was another player that if we can get him to sign was a big statement, I think. So fingers crossed.
Yeah, fingers crossed that one does indeed materialise. Talk to me about Billy Mitchell, Nick, because it felt like he's been around the scene for Millwall for 3 or 4 years now. So how's his progression going?
Yeah, Billy, very nice guy, lovely guy. Millwall fan from a Millwall family. Good player. Doesn't give the ball away much, but he gets a little bit of heat online for playing the ball sideways, as some see it. I think it's unfair criticism, personally. He's very much the industrial, water carrying, But again, another player that I thought particularly, he's had injury issues last season as well, one way and the other, but particularly under Alex Neil, I thought was starting to get himself forward. I'm sure that's an aspect to his game that Neil would want him to develop, to get forward. Who knows? Start getting some goals from midfield. That's an area where we do need to improve. And you would look at Billy to that's somewhere where he would look to get into. I really like Billy. I mean, he's a favourite player down the Den for the reasons I've just said. He's a Millwall fan. And I think he doesn't give the ball away very much, which is gold dust in this modern game, isn't it? I mean, if he passes it, it's invariably to a blue shirt, and that's kind of a big deal in the game. So I think the attacking side of his game will be where the critics would look to for him to improve. I think he draws a lot of unfair heat at times, but I really like Billy. Big season for him, I think. I think Alex Neil rates him, and there will be some. We've mentioned Dan Kelly already, came in January. Not really seen him much yet, but well rated from Celtic. And also is alongside Casper Denor, who's really done well for us last season. So it's a big campaign ahead for Billy. I think another one where leadership might be something that is looked for from Billy. He's not a loud player, but I think he might have to get a bit of a voice, on-field voice, because we've lost one or two in that way in the dressing room, leadership. So I think that's going to be an area where the management looks for him to improve. But I'm expecting good things from Billy this season. Yeah,
time for him to step up that extra gear from a leadership and join that leadership group.
Yeah.
Into Casper Denor, you touched on there. He's I think he's played in European competitions across the continent, hasn't he?
Champions League, he told us. We got an interview with him through the club, and he played for one of the Belgian sides, and I can't remember their name now, but they played in one of the early rounds of Champions League football, Europa League football, and obviously the Belgian First Division. Good player. Another player that's really come a long way. Continental ability to pick a pass and control the ball well. And he's been getting forwards more. The style that Alex Neil was playing last season asked him to get forwards, and he scored a couple of decent goals as well. Nice finishes. So another player where, it's going to be a big season ahead. I think if he can get some good form going next season, he must be thinking in terms of, next clubs and moving along value and all the rest of it. I think he'd be an interesting choice for teams at a higher level. Presumably it's not us. We might be at that higher level. That'd be interesting if that happened, wouldn't it? The Premier League can't wait for that to happen.
Yeah. I'm sure. I'm sure the London police would be absolutely delighted if Millwall got into the Premier League.
So with the Premier League's marketing team, global
Exactly,
operations, they're really looking forward to Millwall getting into the top flight. But no, it'll be a crucial piece in the jigsaw. I really like Casper, another nice guy, and a good player. So I think it's a big season ahead for both midfielders, Mitchell and Denore.
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of the Dan Kelly, you mentioned as well. Hopefully, he's going to have his opportunities. Do you think you'll bring in one more midfielder, or do you think it's just going to be those three?
Good question. We've got rid of George Saville, who was that one more midfielder that you might have expected. It's possible. There was talk of a Stoke player, and I can't think of his name because I've done zero prep for your call, Gabe. Sorry. Johnson at Stoke, I think, was it his name? I can't remember his name now. But Alex Neil's worked with him there as a kind of like a leader type figure.
Oh, Daniel Johnson, he had at West North End. Is that the one?
It might possibly. I think there was talk. I mean, it is only talk. I've not seen anything that hints that that's a deal that might be done. But I would be surprised. I would have thought if we're going to go with this youth policy, we've probably got enough potential leaders there. It'd be interesting to see a good attacking midfielder, someone that can get the ball forwards. I mean, I started the conversation by saying how we need to score more goals, and we do. And you start scoring from midfield ideally. So it's going to be an interesting choice. It's a maybe, but I wouldn't have thought it would be some old salt that's been around the track a few times. It might be someone young with a bit of drive and determination. We might even have those players within our youth team. I've seen one or two comments recently that some of the academy players might be given good run-outs in pre-season to see what they can do. So the under-21 side has been playing some pretty good football. So it may be that we're not even touching on some of the names for next season, which is another interesting aspect to it all. So there's a maybe.
Yeah, hopefully one or two can come through the academy and show what they can do. I wanted to ask you about, I suppose you've got quite a few right-wing options, haven't you? Because you've got Negley, who signed in January. Yeah. You've got Benicio Baker-Boatty, which is a lovely name, isn't it?
BBB we call him, yeah.
BBB, yeah.
Benny Baker, I think they've settled on. as a sayable name.
Yeah, exactly. And then Race Bangura Williams as well, who signed that 5-year contract. So plenty of options for that right-wing role.
Yeah, Race, I think, is a potential top-flight player. Some of the moves and passes he brought out last season, there was a great move at Pompey, a goal for Ivanovic, and that was a beautifully weighted pass from Race. You've either got that or you haven't. That's a talent that cannot be taught. That the ability to pass the ball with that perfect weight, put away really well. And I think he was part of another goal that Ivanovic scored, a pass forward at Luton, which was a relatively famous one in Millwall terms, where he took the ball on his chest and volleyed it in from distance. But the pass leading up to that was from Race. I think the boy's got the star-spangled stardust in him. I just really want to see him get some regular starts. Very, very talented player. We've lost Romain Esse last season. I would have said the same thing about. But honestly, if Race can get it together and stay fit and stay healthy, I think he's also got that the glitter of stardom on him. I think he could go all the way to the top. I really rate him. So it's going to be interesting to see what we get from Race. Negley, we've only seen brief glimpses. He looked really fast and dangerous when he came in last season. Only one or two games we really saw him before injury took hold. Again, if he can stay healthy, and that's really what we're going to be the key for a lot of these players. I think staying fit. We were blighted with injuries last season, but from what I saw of Negley, he looked fast and dangerous. Scored a great goal. A 1-0 win. Surprise, Millwall. 1-0 wins. And I think it was Swansea. I could be wrong on that, but he took it really well, and you could see what it meant to him. Benny Baker, BBB. I've not seen him, so I don't know. I can't actually comment because I've just not seen him. So the fact we've signed him, and given the kinds of players we've been signing, Gabe, I think that he's clearly going to be off promise. That's not necessarily all it takes, but it's going to be very interesting to see him turn out and see what we've got from him. Fingers crossed on him. Yeah.
Absolutely. And then it's similar on the left wing. You just seem to have a lot of wide players at the moment. You've got Femi Aziz, who you recruited from Reading. You've got Adam Mayer, who actually came through the Morecambe Academy, very technical left-sided player. Adomo Imaku, who's a very direct player, isn't he? Likes to run at people.
Yeah.
And you've also got Zach Lovelace, who's quite a versatile forward as well. So, again, quite spoilt for choice in a way.
Yeah, on the left side, I mean, to start off with Femi Aziz, I really like Femi Aziz. I think he's a terrific player. Slightly came out of nowhere in a way. I know it came from Reading, but it's not nowhere. But you know what I mean? It wasn't the player that I was aware of. And really dangerous, really fast, skillful, scored goals for us. Nice boy. Met him at the dinner, came across very well. A real find, in my opinion, Femi Aziz. I'd like to see him start. He stayed reasonably fit last season. He was a big asset for us. So no, big season ahead for Femi, and I really like him. Just trying to think the others. Zach Lovelace came back to us. We kind of tried to move tooth and nail to keep him when he went to Glasgow Rangers as a 15-year-old. He made a couple of appearances a few years ago for us from his youth side. Very highly rated under Neil Harris's management, and he chose to go to Rangers. Whether that was the right move or not, I don't know. He's come back to us now, and it's going to be interesting to see what we get from Zach, because he was really highly rated as a kid. We haven't seen him yet, so we don't know what to expect out of him this time around. I'm hoping for good things. Idemo, I love Idemo. He's a good old-fashioned Millwall winger, fast. Can sometimes forget to take the ball with him. Sometimes if he gets it in front with him, he'll bury it like with aplomb. And sometimes he's he's black or white. He's 100%. He'll give everything he's got to give, and I think he plays from the heart. And probably he's a player that you bring in later in the game, 70 minutes ish, when you're looking for the final 20, because he brings pace and power, and he'll get in behind defenders. Seen him start a couple of times last season. Didn't really work for him, but maybe that's an area that he will look to try. And if he can add some guile to his game, it sounds a bit, I can't kick for toffee, so I'm telling a player of some talent to add guile to his game, But if that's probably the area as a fan to look on, they'll say, well, he just needs a bit of something in that way. But as a power player and as a late impact sub, no, he's very, very good for us. So yeah, no, we've got one or two on that left side. It's going to be interesting, as I said.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I suppose the question is, are you going to go two up top to?
Of course we are, Gabriel. Of course we are. It's Millwall 4-4-2. Get the ball into the middle. I really hope so. I've just signed Josh Coburn on a club record deal. Big money by Millwall standards. Goes back to James Berylson, £5 million all in, I think, is the deal. I don't think it's up front, but it's all in. I think built on the idea that he's going to get goals or create goals, as he mostly did last season for Ivanovic. But as a duo, the Coburn-Ivanovic duo, no, that's classic. I like the look of that, and I want to see that every game. I don't care for this one striker, modern. It might be good enough for Pep or somebody, but not for me. I want to see two strikers up front, and the ball being played with skill and pass and precision to those two strikers. Coburn gives you physicality. He creates tumult. He's a big boy. He's 6'5", I think. He's big.
Yeah.
And he gets in amongst it. He holds the ball up very well with his back to goal. And he brings in a player of some class and quality in Mihailo Ivanovic. And you don't have to take my word for that, viewers. You can, if European clubs now, I think Parma was supposed to be interested from Italia, the Serie A. I think if he can hold on for a season, if he's being well advised, and if he's listening, or his agents are listening, stick around at the Den for a season, get some goals, and then you won't be looking to go to Parma. You'll be looking at the very top flight clubs, because I think he's that good. He's got quality. an outrageous touch and a willingness to go for the flamboyant that is uplifting. It's why you go and watch football. Go.
He can score all
moments.
types of goals. He can score the beautiful goals, and he can also score diving headers, from inside the 6-yard box.
He headed the ball on the floor against Dagenham in the FA Cup. The ball was dead on the floor in front of goal. He headed it in on the floor because he's a goal-scoring poacher, but he will also give you some flamboyant finishes that will lift your heart. As I say, I mean, obviously, in the end, money talks. We'll see what becomes of Mihailo. I think he's made a real impact at the Den. He's much loved. He's got a real rapport with the crowd. And I think if he can stick around for next season, his value will go through the roof, and he'll be picking the clubs. It won't be them chasing him; he'll be picking them. So, fingers crossed that we can keep hold of him. I think that's a big front two duo if that comes to pass. Coburn and Ivanovic.
Because I think if Ivanovic does stay, it does look like it would be him and Coburn, because the likes of Nisbet was out on loan last season. Langstaff a little bit on the periphery, could be offloaded, and then you've got AJ Matthews, who's maybe a level below, so on current ability. So it looks like it would be those two that would be favoured.
Certainly start. I mean, the others you'd probably think in terms of bringing them in as the game wears along. I mean, Coburn will probably take a bashing because that's his style. So, at some point, you're probably going to want to replace him. I'm interested by AJ Matthews. I haven't seen him at all. And from what I can gather, he's another big striker. So, interesting to see what becomes of AJ next season. I mean, I feel for Macaulay Langstaff, because he's come to us from non-league where he scored goals freely, and it's just much harder to get the chances.
Well, it was actually League Two, so he'd scored goals in League Two and not counting. But you're right.
The level is just defenders and goalkeepers. I mean, it's harder. And the boy has given everything he's got to give. Whether he'll stay or whether he'll become the talk is that he wants to stay and fight for his place, which is what you want to hear. He might also be, given that we've got other options, I don't know. We'll see. He certainly had, I think it's 15, 16 appearances, and he got one goal for us. So I think that's the difference in levels. As far as the strike force go, we've got to get more goals. That's going to be key. So whoever starts scoring goals, Nisbet, I quite like Nisbet. He scored goals for us last season, but he didn't settle in London for whatever reason. He's gone back to Aberdeen, got gold in Scotland. Some will talk about levels of Scottish football versus the Championship. I'd love to see him come back, and I'd love to see him find some common calls with Alex Neil and get some goals. I thought he looked like a good goal finisher. And that's an area where we've got to improve. So why not? It generates a lot of controversy on Millwall internet worlds, but I'd like to see him given a go. Nisbet, I think he's got something.
Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of remaining additions, then looking at the squad at the moment, I would probably say you're going to be looking at another left back, probably another midfielder, and to be honest, the squad otherwise looks pretty well set. So I would say another couple of additions. Yeah,
an attacking midfielder perhaps. Whether that's the option they go for, whether leadership is seen as the thing, I don't know. But yeah, left side and midfield, and we're probably not far short of having a decent squad there, Gabe. It's unusual territory for me to be so optimistic ahead of a season that generally you're kind of expecting the worst, as after 50 odd years of following the Lions, you tend to expect to fall flat on your face quite quickly. But the way we finished last season was really heartening, and there's every reason, I think, to hope for a good start to the season. So fingers crossed.
Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of expectations then, Nick, is the bar from a fan base point of view, and I guess perhaps from the club point of view, top 10? Because I think it will be disappointing, I suppose, to drop too far from where you finished last season. But obviously the ambition is going to be to try and get into the playoffs, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, under various managers, under Gary Rowett, then Neil Harris, preceding him, Neil Harris, Gary Rowett, and then Alex Neil last season, we've had some decent finishes by Millwall standards in recent years. I think the escape from relegation was under Neil Harris, so that wasn't such a high finish. But generally speaking, we've come to finish in 8th, 9th type positions, top 10, as you say. The club won't want to finish any lower than that. They're not spending money to to fight it out at the wrong end of the table. So yeah, the expectation must be on, and I think even from his own expectation, Alex Neil will want to be finishing the top six, because I don't know what else is. I know we're developing players and selling them, and that will be a target at some point. But certainly top 10. I think we might even regard a non-top 6 finishers. Oh dear, that's not what we were hoping for. So that's quite a change in outlook. I don't think I'm alone in saying that. I think that rightly or wrongly, I think that's where the club would hope to be aiming at. To finish in the top 2 is probably the preserve of the fallen giants, from the top flight, because the money involved. But I think that 6th spot would be a very very valid target, and then you're into playoff football, aren't you? So that's probably got to be the target. Something around. We came close to it last season, and but for injuries, I think we might even have achieved it. So I don't think there's any reason not to be looking for that this season. Which is quite a step up in Millwall expectations, to be honest. Traditionally I would have said survival in the Championship would have been a very good result, but now I think we've got to be looking up a bit higher than that. That's certainly the way the club is moving.
Yeah, I've never, certainly my time covering the league, there's never been a sense from Millwall going into a Championship season that we would expect to finish in the top 6. So if there's a degree of that, then that,
I mean, expect is maybe the wrong word. Aim for, I think, is probably the better word, because you have to be, you've got to be realistic. There's some strong sides. There's going to be a lot of money around in the Championship next season, so I think everyone's going to be saying similar things to me. We can't all get into the top 6, so. But certainly that's got to be the target. Otherwise, there's a lot of investment for no great purpose, in my opinion. If survival in the Championship is all that you're going to aim for, then you wouldn't be going down some of the the roads that we're going down. I think a top 6 finish, certainly 6th spot, must be the target for the club.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So as you know, Nick, I'm doing my 1-24 this month. And what I'm going to do this year is rate each team out of 10 on 14 different categories that I think could determine their fate. So what I'll do is shout a category at you, and you can give me a number between 1 and 10.
Okay.
First category is ownership.
Oh, 10.
10 for ownership, great.
10, yeah. I can't imagine who else we get. There was talk of a Saudi Arabian grouping coming in. I don't. That seems to have gone away now. But honestly, the Berylson family have been godsends for Millwall Football Club, and I've got endless amounts of respect for them.
100%. Infrastructure.
It's improving. My main aim is that the bird droppings get cleaned off my seat where I sit in, just underneath the security box up in the West Upper. If they can do that, and they have been doing it, they've moved the bird droppings 1 row forwards. I'd class that as a step forwards. So yeah, infrastructure. It's improving. I love the Den. It's an old stadium now, which is odd because I was there at opening night all those years ago in the 1990s. And it was a magnificent site, but of course stadia have been built left, right, and centre, and they've improved a lot. Personally, I can't think of a better venue for a game of football, in my opinion. I know I'm biased, and but as a theatre of football, I think the Den is a very hard place to beat on its day. The fan zone, the bars, and the stuff like that are all improving. They've had some good investment there, so the general experience of going to watch Millwall now is an improved one. So, infrastructure, I'll give it 7 out of 10.
7 out of 10 for infrastructure.
Just sort those bird droppings out, Mark Fairbrother, if you're listening.
Next one is playing budget.
Well, we're good, but we're not in the same. We've got the likes now: Hollywood, Wrexham, Birmingham. Plus your fallen giants, Leicester. Who knows what's going to be coming? There's a lot of money flying around in the Championship. Playing budget after market, really. I think we're always going to be one of the smaller budgets in the Championship, bar maybe 1 or 2 that have just come up from League One. So I suppose I've got to say about 5 out of 10 in terms of playing budget, because we just can't compete realistically. Where some teams will sign £10 million, £15 million players. Our record is 5, so there it is, but we're pretty good. and we're on the right track. So I'll give it a 5 out of 10, but that's not to knock the club.
Of course. Management is the next one.
Really like the look of Alex Neil. He seems to have a good team of assistants around him. He speaks well, comes over well, and I've been impressed, as I've said on this show, with some of the football that he played with us last season in difficult circumstances. So I'm going to give him an 8 out of 10. 10 out of 10 if he can get us into the top 6, Alex.
There you go, throwing the gauntlet down to him.
11 out of 10 if he gets into the Premier League, mate.
Absolutely. When were you last in the top flight, by the way? It must have been a while ago.
Oh, 1988.
Right.
If you want to do a whole show on that, come back another day. I'll give you a long lecture on that. 1988, we made the first division, for 2 seasons.
Nice. Goalkeeping department is the next one.
Yeah, hard one to call. I mean, with Jensen is fit, we're pretty good. And it's unfair to judge Max Crocombe. I haven't seen him. I've only seen a little bit of George Evans, and he's a coming player. So let's give that a 6 out of 10. But that's largely because it's hard to judge.
Sure. Defence.
Defence is pretty good. I think we only conceded around 1 goal a game last season. Memory serves. 46 games played, and we had about 40-something, 47, 48, 49 goals conceded. So can't do much better than that. I'm going to give the defensive unit a strong 8.5.
8
out of 10. Yeah, because they have conceded goals, so I can't give them 10.
Midfield.
Some of it is in development, so I'd give it a 7 out of 10 at the moment, with hopes of higher at the end of the season.
Attack.
Attack's pretty good, although we haven't scored goals, so it's all very well getting excited over Mihailo. We scored enough goals to win a load of games 1-0, so that's down to the forward line, often in difficult circumstances. I'm going to give the forwards an 8 out of 10, but we do need more goals, more chances, more goals.
Interesting. Okay, 8 for the attack. Squad depth for this stage of the window. Pretty high.
Pretty good. Probably still going to be making maybe 2 or 3 more signings, I'd expect. Maybe loans, who knows. 7 out of 10. Yeah.
7 out of 10 for squad depth. Squad stability.
Well, we don't really know what's going to become of Japhet Tanganga. He's a major piece in the armory. So also Mihailo has the money men sniffing around him now. So 2 major players who have. But then, if you're going to get successful, Gabe, you've got to expect this. This is the price of success. So
want your players, don't you?
Yeah, but we seem pretty stable at the moment. So let's go for another 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10 for squad stability, right? Growth potential. So players you think can get better and better.
Oh, good. Yeah, Mihailo, Femi Aziz, just spring to mind. I mean, Dinor we've mentioned, Kramer. I say there's a lot of players, an increasing number of players, and we haven't seen some of the new boys from January. So who knows? I'd give us a high 8. Yeah, strong 8. For growth potential value. Yeah,
lovely. Yeah, team spirit.
Pretty good. Obviously, we've lost 1 or 2 with the departure of 1 or 2 of the old faces. But every time I've met any of the players, you're really struck by what decent blokes they are. And it seems like there's a good, just going by the club videos, I mean, that's all you have to judge these things on at this stage. They seem to have a good bonding. So seems pretty strong. 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10 for team spirit. Fitness.
We were very fit last season. I mean, we had a few injuries, that said. So, but those that remained did well. No, I think that's an area that the tempo was quite high last season, even despite the fact we were lacking fairly substantial numbers of the squad. So, team fitness seems strong, and I'm sure that's what they're working on now in the heat of today. So, I'd give it an 8 out of 10. With hopes to improve.
8 out of 10 for fitness. And finally, quality.
I think
this is probably one of the most talented Millwall squads.
Yeah.
for a
We've
while.
got some players that can produce magic moments. Mihailo, Reis, Femi Aziz. We haven't seen much of Negley, but he looks like he could from the little we've seen of him. And going all the way back to dear old Joe Bryan, when he gets forward and is on form, he's a very, very strong, talented player. And Kramer we've seen. So I'm going to give that a high. Millwall team, this is one of the best quality teams I've seen in a long time. I'm going to give it a 9.
Ooh.
9.
Right, that's even higher than I was expecting.
Yeah, no, just based on what I've seen and on the snatches we've seen, by our standards, that's all you can judge it by. I mean, we've come on a long way. As I said at the start, I'm really looking forward to seeing the boys in the new season. I might review all this, as I said, after Norwich.
Back to 1.
Yeah, that's right. We'll go back to 1s and 2s.
Yeah, exactly. Brilliant stuff. Nick, some final quick-fire questions from me. Biggest reason to believe in Millwall right now?
Well, everything we've touched on. There's a lot of good young players. We're set in a direction that is overtly designed to bring in youth and talent, and that's all that any Millwall fan in their heart should want. And there's a lot of good players knocking around. I've given them a very high quality score there, and I'm aware that might be a bit of a burden on some, but these look like the real deal. So I think that we can expect a good, exciting roller coaster season, good Millwall season. That's all I ask. So well worth watching.
Biggest reason for doubt?
Doubt? Oh, blimey. I've been following the Lions for 52 years ago. My middle name is Doubt and Sourness. That's how I have a middle name. I mean, it can all injuries. Look at it last season. We had injuries aplenty. You have to be realistic. This is a high level of football. Some of the clubs that are in it now wield big resources. It's all very well for us, but we've got another team to play. Each match you're playing other opponents also bring all the things we've mentioned. So, you have to be realistic. And in the end, although the club might aim for 6th spot, in reality, if we can survive at this level, we're doing pretty well for ourselves for a small size club. Doubt, well, events, and once the first kickoff. Was that Mike Tyson quote that everyone's got a plan until the first punch gets thrown? It's that. Who knows? We'll see. But fingers crossed. We won't dwell on doubts on this show, Gabriel.
Okay. Finally, can you give me an early prediction for next season?
Yeah, I'll give you a prediction. We play some good attacking football. We win some by big margins. We might lose a few by a few margins. I think that we'll have an interesting opening phase to the season. Christmas, we'll press on. We'll get the gathering storm that is Millwall from January onwards, and then we'll finish on a last day in 6th spot. And we're going to play our football to the chagrin of world football. Premier League, Club World Cup will be quaking its boots that we might have a shot at the Club World Cup in the future. So, I think it'll be a good season. Will we get into it? I don't know. Be great if we can get close to it again with some good football, like we did last year.
Well, we wish you well, Nick. Keep up the great work with Achtung.
Yeah, cheers. Absolutely, mate. And you. Good shows.
Yeah, thank you, Nick. I appreciate that. Thanks for watching at home. You can get subscribed to EFL Debate on YouTube and on Spotify. And we'll see you again for another Summer Deep Dive very soon.